Hey everyone, welcome back to MSTR Daily. My name is Matt, and in this video, we're going to talk about the 90,000 Bitcoin Microstrategy is buying in a 3-week window, which has been insane to watch. Over the last 2 weeks, they bought 70,000 Bitcoin, and they're about to purchase another 20,000 by next Monday, making it 90,000. This has come from $5 billion in equity and $2 billion in convertible debt, and if they continue to issue more equity this week, then it's going to be over 100,000 Bitcoin in that 3-week window. And in this video, we're going to go over the details, but more importantly, we're going to look at the massive geopolitical implications of this move and try to decipher what Saylor and Microstrategy see over the horizon. But before we get into it, check out MSTR Pro, which is a paid group where I disclose and explain my personal MicroStrategy options portfolio. In the last MSTR Pro video, I explained what I would do if I was starting over with 100K. So if you want to see that, you can check it out with the link in the description. For our first story today, we have to discuss MicroStrategy's Bitcoin rampage recently, and I don't think there's any other way to put it. And this started after their Q3 earnings call when they announced their $42 billion capital raising plan. And with that announcement, they filed for a $21 billion at the market stock offering, which was the biggest filing in the history of financial markets. They were basically filing to open an ATM for the next 3 years. And according to their forward guidance, they outlined the plan to issue $5 billion worth of stock in 2025 and $5 billion worth of converts or other fixed income securities. But they couldn't wait. And as shareholders, we should be thrilled that they are way ahead of schedule, because on October 31st, the day after the earnings call, they started to raise money from the ATM to buy Bitcoin. And we got the first announcement we went over last week saying that they had purchased 27,000 Bitcoin for just over $2 billion. And on Twitter, people were speculating that they were about to buy another $2 billion worth of Bitcoin, but we were way off, because before market open on Monday, November 18th, Saylor posted that they had doubled last week's purchases and bought 51,000 Bitcoin for over $4.6 billion. This brings them to a total of 331,200 Bitcoin held on their balance sheet. And Joe Consorti pointed out that that is 1.5% of the total Bitcoin supply, and they aren't stopping anytime soon. And if you're confused about what's going on, here's Michael Saylor explaining in this clip.
Did you already have it planned that you're going to make the investment today? Was the purchase already scheduled? Was it a pre-scheduled thing, or was it, no, the market doesn't know, let's make the announcement, we're buying this?
You know, on October 30th, we announced our 21-21 plan. So $21 billion worth of equity we're going to raise, and $21 billion we're going to raise in fixed income securities. And we filed this shelf registration to sell the $21 billion in equity in at the market offerings. So then the next week, we had the election, a lot of activity, the red sweep, and then that Monday, a week ago from today, we announced we'd actually bought $2 billion of Bitcoin. So that was like a $2 billion week, and it's like 27,000 Bitcoin or something. But then another week went by. So the announcement this morning was from last week's activity. So that's 5 days in the marketplace. So we did about $2 billion the first week, and we did $4.6 billion the second
This
week.
is the biggest ever, biggest purchase you've
Yeah,
ever
I
made.
think it's the biggest Bitcoin purchase ever. Yeah.
Yeah, because I see this here. August 2020, you made $250 million. September 2020, 175. December 2020, you bought 50 million. February 2021, you bought $1 billion. November 11, 2024, last week, $2 billion, and then today, $4.6 billion.
Yeah, so $6.6 billion since we had our quarterly results. So, well, I think it's like 41, 42 times we bought Bitcoin in that range. So ever since August of 2020, we keep buying. We don't sell. It's a very simple strategy. Bitcoin is Manhattan in cyberspace. I just want to keep buying Manhattan in cyberspace. I have this theory that one day 8 billion people want to put their money in Manhattan and cyberspace.
Okay, before we talk about the massive implications of these equity-based purchases and debt-based purchases, we need to talk about the new convertible bond that they are issuing. Yesterday at market closed, I guess Saylor couldn't wait a day to have another announcement. They proposed another $1.75 billion convertible note at 0% interest. So it doesn't even matter that they've been clearing up their operational expenses in order to carry more debt, because the annual interest expense of this convert will be $0, which is incredible. He is trading his already expensive equity for money now to buy Bitcoin, and the convertible bond investors get high-performing debt with the chance to convert to even more expensive equity in the future. This new convert will fill the 2029 open slot and has the potential to be upsized to $2 billion, which would be their largest convert yet. So what does all of this buying mean for Bitcoin and Microstrategy? First, that means that Microstrategy has issued $5.74 billion worth of stock, which was their goal for the entire year of 2025. There's no way that this ATM stock offering takes until 2027 to complete. This will be dry by the end of next year. And second, it means that there is massive volume in the stock for them to drop this many shares onto the market, and the stock has still continued up. We discussed last week that MSTR is a top 5 stock in terms of volume, and it has a market cap less than $100 billion, which is insane. But that allows the management team to accretively add Bitcoin per share. Third, there are massive political implications here, and I think it gives us a peek into what may be happening behind the scenes. Although MSTR was issuing about $300 million worth of stock before and through the election week, once it was clear that Trump had won and the Republicans won the House and the Senate, MSTR stepped on the gas and they increased their daily issuance by 3x to around $900 million per day. And I have to think that Michael Saylor is doing two things. First, he's definitely trying to get as much Bitcoin as he can under 100K. And second, I think he's trying to front run the US government. He talks to Senator Lummis, the senator from Wyoming who introduced the Bitcoin bill, which outlines that the US government should purchase 1 million coins over the next 5 years. And I would be shocked if he doesn't have any connections within the Trump administration where there are discussions of a day one executive order to start buying Bitcoin. I'm not a lawyer, so we're not going to go into the legality here, but from the little reading I've done, the president has some authority to acquire strategic assets, although a larger 1 million Bitcoin purchase plan would need to come out of Congress. Regardless, I think we can learn a lot from Saylor's recent actions. He either knows what's coming or he has a pretty good guess and he has the tools to front run these massive buyers. And I don't think he's going to slow down through the end of the year. I think there's a chance that they finish 2024 with over 400,000 Bitcoin. And after that, with the growth in market cap, investors' appetite for high-performing equity, and the convertible debt market's insatiable desire for these converts, I think that MSTR could be on track to acquire 100,000 Bitcoin per year, which would put them at 1 million coins by 2030. And investors are begging for this. Saylor posted this on X. Year to date, MicroStrategy's treasury operations delivered a Bitcoin yield of 41.8%, providing a net benefit of about 79,000 Bitcoin to our shareholders. This equates to 246 Bitcoin per day, acquired without the cost, energy consumption, or capital expenditures typically associated with Bitcoin mining. And I love this. MSTR is a Bitcoin miner, but instead of mining using ASICs, they mine Bitcoin from inefficient and overvalued equity and debt markets. To drive this point home, look at this insane chart posted by Plan C. It is the hash rate equivalent of the top 5 Bitcoin miners. And this is over the last 7 days, and you can see that MicroStrategy is eons ahead of the other miners in terms of acquiring Bitcoin. Okay, for our next story, we have some massive news about options trading on the Bitcoin ETFs. As Eric Balchunas reported yesterday, the CFTC approved the options trading on their end, and then in the same day, the OCC released a statement saying that they have approved the listing and trading of options on IBIT. So all of this is happening super fast. All of the regulatory ducks are now in a row, and here's a clip on CNBC where someone from NASDAQ was talking about these options being listed.
IBIT now over $40 billion, larger than the iShares Gold Trust ETF. It's larger than the 2,800 ETFs that have launched in the past decades.
You're the primary exchange for IBIT. Since you have basically the greatest launch of all time up and running on your exchange. And now we just got word over the past couple days that the SEC approval to get options to be approved.
Our intent at NASDAQ is to list and trade these options as early as tomorrow.
So clearly the NASDAQ is trying to get this in order and trading, and tomorrow is today, the day I'm releasing this video. And I checked a few of the options chains and some had them and others didn't, so I'm not totally sure if these are trading yet. They totally could be, but if they're not trading yet, then it's likely that tomorrow or later this week, these options will be up and running. Everything on this front is happening so fast that it's pretty hard to keep up. And this comes as a massive surprise to me and probably a lot of other people in the space, because I was seeing reports and rumors that these options wouldn't trade until maybe Q1 of 2025, but it is so crazy bullish that they could launch this week. And I don't know about you, but I think that this bull run is going to get much bigger than 2021. With the Bitcoin ETFs, with options on the ETFs, with nation state adoption, with MSTR, with more focus on Bitcoin and less on crypto, everything is shaking up to just be bigger and more grand than 2021. And if we look at this chart by Alex Thorne over at Galaxy Digital, it shows Bitcoin's current performance over the last few cycles, and you can can see that we are now outperforming the 2015 and 2017 cycle, and that run got really crazy towards the end of 2017. And obviously no two cycles are the same. There's a lot more spot driven buying in that cycle, but I do think here in 2024 and 2025 that things are about to get even more bullish. And I'm super excited for the next 13 months, and I hope you are too. I believe that Bitcoin under 100K is a gift right now. Over the next 13 months, maybe even over the next 5 to 10 years, should you buy MSTR or Bitcoin or both? This has been a huge debate on X over the last few weeks, and this is what Michael Saylor said about it.
It's also institutional investors that like Bitcoin, but they can't buy Bitcoin because of their charter. They can only buy an operating company. Many investors have large pools of capital, and they're not allowed to buy the commodity. They have to buy a company.
So the question when a lot of people ask and says, why would you give your money to Microstrategy to invest? So why not just go do it yourself and buy Bitcoin? This is because some can't do that, right?
Well, there's a lot of answers to that. One is, can you borrow $1 billion for free for 5 years with no recourse and unsecured? Probably not, right? Individuals can't borrow money for free for long periods of time. It's difficult. Companies can. So one reason why is because we can borrow $4.2 billion unsecured for a long period of time and pay less than 1% interest. So when you're investing with us, you're not just getting the Bitcoin, you're getting the access to the company that has the cheapest cost of capital. We probably have the cheapest cost of capital in the entire market. Like if you look at every S&P company, if you look at every company in the market, who else can borrow billions of dollars for less than 1% interest? So one thing they want is they want our financial power. But then if you go to Europe, like in the UK, I think it's impossible, it's illegal for a UK investor to buy Bitcoin. They can't. Like the regs don't allow them to buy it.
Anywhere.
In the UK, they can't buy it in their like retirement fund. They have retirement plans and 401k. So a lot of times there are regulations that prohibit investors from buying Bitcoin, but they can buy companies. We're a company, so they can buy our stock. So if you had money locked up in your retirement plan and you loved Bitcoin, but you can't buy the Bitcoin, you can't even buy the ETF, you can buy MicroStrategy. There are a lot of pools of capital that they could buy us. And there's another example, which is, there's been no options market on Bitcoin ETFs, and you can't margin it, so you can't borrow against them. But with MicroStrategy, we have very healthy options. We have an $80 billion open interest in our options market. That's extreme. Like the options market in our stock is 20x bigger than the options market in BITO, which is the only Bitcoin ETF that had options. Mm-hmm. So sometimes people want to use those for leverage. And then the last point is you can't borrow against those ETFs. But if you had $1 million of Apple stock, you could borrow against it. It's SOFR plus 100 basis points. If you have $1 million of MicroStrategy stock, you can borrow against it. If you have $1 million worth of IBIT or BTC, you can't.
What do I think? Well, I have both. Bitcoin is so special that I think everyone should take self-custody of Bitcoin and experience that self-sovereignty. However, on the other hand, MSTR is clearly smart beta to Bitcoin, and I think that it will outperform Bitcoin for decades. So in that case, owning MSTR is great too, especially if you're in a favorable tax situation or you only care about number go up. But let me know how you've answered this question in the comments below. What's your ideal ratio between the two? And with that, if you enjoyed the video, consider hitting the like button and check out MSTR Pro in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.